Hey, what's up guys? My name is Knomo, and in today's video I wanted to show y'all some rack I made. It's called the Hardstyle generator. I've been making a couple of racks, just chaining together a bunch of different effects like from Ableton, like the main ones and some other ones that I use like on a regular basis. And yeah, today I wanted to show the Hardstyle generator, kind of how it works and what you can do with it. And I'm also going to be giving this away for free, so you can do with it what you want. I would say though, you have to load it on an empty MIDI track, and there are some third-party plugins like kiloHearts Disperser, FabFilter Saturn 2, and Stab. Like basically those ones. Maybe if it's like wanted, I could make a version that doesn't use any of these plugins, and I just do it with the standard ones from Ableton. I think that's still possible, but I personally really like the sound of these plugins and what they do. So yeah, so this is the rack. It consists of Virtual Riot's kick generator, shout out to him, he's a goat, another rack that I made, as well as an anti-brick rack. So we'll go through this one by one. So just using the VR kick generator, if you click here on random, like this, it generates a new set of parameters every time you do it, so you get a different kick. And you can like pick any key, so from C to B. The way this works is, I hope he's not gonna, please don't sue me, bro. Yeah, the way this works is there's an instrument rack, and the instrument rack is split up into 4 chains, 1 for the body, 2 for the click, and 1 for the sort of like a more erosion click. So we can solo these, and then you can hear the different parts. That's basically how we made the kick. And this is just, this selects a different pitch, so that every time you click on random, a different pitch is selected. And basically it's just a sine wave, as you can see, with a pitch envelope. It's mapped to these knobs over here, so that every time you click random, you do get a different result. That's basically how this kick generator works. The same for the click. It's also like an operator. In this case, using noise. I think for the second one, he used another rack of his. But yeah, that's basically it. There are like plenty of tutorials out there on how to make kicks, and you can make these pretty easily just with standard Ableton devices. If you know how to like chain them correctly and what they do, it's actually not that hard. Then there's also some, I think this here is some like trick that I don't even understand what the fuck this is for. No idea. But I don't think you necessarily need this. So it's not really needed. And then there's an audio effect rack that just basically makes the kick a little fatter, gives it a little drive. And some post-processing rack that just removes the mud, sort of, gives it some more transient. There's also some multiband compression and a saturator. That's basically how his kick generator works. Really nothing too complicated. You can build this yourself. It's really not that hard. It's just a bunch of like programming and mapping things to different macros. Because in an effect rack in Ableton, you have up to 16 macros that you can put various things on, or you can map basically every parameter, for example, from the operator. Well, not every parameter. There are some things that you can't really map, sadly. They should probably include this in a future update. That would be really cool. But yeah, that's the basic gist of it. That's the kick generator. And then I made a hardstyle generator that where I have these different knobs that are all, except for these two, linked to the front knobs here, basically the most important ones. And I've also like given them a color, so you can easily discern like what is for what. You got one for length, you got one for stereo, for drive, for post-processing of the kick. Then you have some hard drive, some soft drive. There's the stab attack and the stab mix. That's the third-party plugin I mentioned previously. Then there's the low range and the mid range and high range. That's basically for the EQ points. I will talk about that in a little bit. And same for the drive ones. And then you can also change the disperser frequency and the phaser if you wish to do so. So let's talk about this rack, like what actually is happening here. First, there's an EQ that's just for general view. I think there's, oh yeah, there's some volume increase for the high end, but that's pretty much it. Then there's a stab that gives it some more attack. I've just mapped these things here to a macro and the mix of the dry wet to here. so that we can blend this in. Then there's some saturation going on, some really heavy ones. One with a hard curve at about like, I think I mapped this to like up to 15 decibels. And just a saturator that also does like some really hard saturation. And then comes pretty much the most important part, which is the EQ. So I've taken, I think, 3 knobs. Yeah, I've just taken 3 knobs and mapped them, gave them an individual frequency range. So I think if I go to here and click on map, you can basically see where and how everything is set up. So I have these different EQ points. I gave them a different range. I think for the low one, and now I have to see through my own shit. This is fucking hard, man. Yeah, there's a low range where you can see, okay, it goes from 100 to 1.47 kilohertz. Then I did the same for the mid frequencies. It goes from 285 kilohertz to 622 kilohertz. And then there's another one for the high range, which goes from 5.2 kilohertz to 22 kilohertz. Same for the drives. I also mapped the increase, so that the mid band, like this one, for example, goes from minus 15 decibels to plus 15 decibels. Same for the high increase and for the low increase as well. So that each time you click on random, they are like differently set, but in these ranges. So that still makes sense for them to sort of make this like really annoying-ish hardstyle type sound that many people really like. Usually that's not really a genre I dabble in, but I was at a friend's place and he does hardstyle and techno and all that shebang, and he had a Korg laying about. So I was like, maybe I could make something for you. And then I basically made this entire rack overnight. Next thing in chain is the Saturn II, which is really what's most important to the sound, I would say. Like without the Saturn II, like it gives it like a really nice crunch. I mean, it's still pretty nice without it. Sounds nice, but in most cases it does make the sound a lot better. I think I've mapped the drives, the drive ones of these. Those are the low drive, mid drive, and high drive. That's basically the amount that Saturn II, all these different bands that are set up in Saturn II get boosted. Next in chain is a disperser. That just gives it like a random pinch, I think, in the entirety of the frequency spectrum. I don't think I even put any limitations on that. Can really go anywhere. Then some multiband compression that is also like mixed in. I think you can, do you have a knob for this? Yeah, you have a knob for this. You can also like set this to higher or lower. Doesn't really make much of a difference in this case, but sometimes it makes a difference. Next in line is some more EQing. That's not randomized, it's just like just an EQ. Then some more saturation on a digital clip and hard clip. Then some phaser flanger that is also like mixed in. So you can either turn this off or have it on. I just find it really interesting because it messes with the stereo image of the sound, which is really nice. Then next in line is some more EQing. Then there's some final saturator that is set on bass shaper mode with threshold set to 0 decibels and just some more drive. That's basically the entire hardstyle generator rack. And then, because this really crushes the sound, like this does some crazy saturation and distortion to the sound. And sometimes you still want to have some dynamics, so I made an anti-brick rack that basically brings back some dynamics. You can set the manual level, attack and release, threshold, makeup, so if you want to make it louder or more quiet, the ratio, the range of the compressor. This is basically just a glue compressor, I think. Yeah, glue compressor with a utility. You can't really change the clip mode. I don't know why this is here. Maybe I have to change this before releasing. And you can just turn it off or on if you don't need it, or just turn this off or on. Up to you. So that's basically it. So how do you use this now? Like, how can we make lots of random kicks? For this, I don't know what it is on Mac. I will probably put it on screen. But for Windows, it's if you press Control and K, there's a menu that opens up, which is basically where you can link all of these things to different things on your keyboard. And then you just click on rand, press R, or really any button you want to link it to. I just do this for these 3 racks, so for all of them. Then I go out of the menu just by pressing Control and K again. And then if you press R, it randomizes all of these racks every time. So you get a different sound. That one's nasty. That one's like short. yeah, and if you feel like you found a nice sound, you can still mess around with these macros. I recommend not messing around too much with the kick itself, but more so with the knobs I set on the very front. These are really the most important ones. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole hardstyle kick generator. Okay, so this is it for the video. Maybe in the future, if you request it in the comments below, I can still make a rack that only uses the standard Ableton devices and not any third-party plugins. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Hope you have fun with it, and please share what you do with it. I would be really curious to hear what you can do with this. The rack itself will be available on my Gumroad page. I will link this in the description. If you click on my Gumroad page, here I offer many different things about music production, like music theory, popular DAWs and organization, sound design, and media and programming, mixing and mastering. And at the very bottom, you can find the Knomo Hardstyle Gen, but I also put a link that directly leads to just the Hardstyle generator. And I'm not charging anything for it, so you can have this for free. It would be nice if you could pay me a little dime for it, but you really don't have to. Really do what you want with this. So yeah, that's about it. Bye bye.